Hello folks, Tiso here. In this video, I'll show some of the beneficial changes in 1.4. Most of these were shown in the patch notes, but I noticed some that weren't, so I'll be talking about a couple of those as well. Without further ado, let's begin. I noticed the Mondstadt butterfly cores are spawning in the daytime. We don't need to go at night to collect them anymore. Before, the GeoL versions of the butterflies were spawning in daytime and nighttime, but the Anemo versions only spawn during night. However, they still don't spawn when it's raining. You might be going through crystal cores faster now since the condensed resin limit has been raised to 5. This new cap is great if you want to do certain domains that have specific materials on each day of the week. If I'm focusing on a weapon or a character talent, I'll be unloading all 5 resins and maybe even more on the days the domains are available. You can also save it for Sundays since you can choose which material you want on Sundays. Another nice change is in the crafting, cooking, and foraging menus. The game now remembers the character that assisted on each craft, so when you go back to them later on, it will default to that character. You can see that I'm switching from different materials and is toggling between Xingqiu and Sucrose since you want to use their passives on the correct materials. Speaking of cooking, you can now choose to auto-cook or manually cook. The reason you want to cook manually is because you get 2 different achievements for failing to cook recipes. You can also use Wu Tao's character passive to cook suspicious dishes, but it's faster just to fail it. Speaking of achievements, they fixed a previous one for the Electro Hypostasis boss. You needed to destroy one of the walls on the barrier it creates, but before the achievement wasn't working, but they finally fixed it now so you can go ahead and get it. There's also a hidden achievement for changing the dialogue volume. Paimon will help you test out the volume. All you need to do is to keep raising and lowering the dialogue volume until you get the achievement.
Can you hear Paimon? Paimon coming in! Paimon coming in! Is this level okay? Can you hear Paimon? Paimon coming in! Paimon coming in! Is this level okay? Can you hear Paimon? Hey! Are you just messing with Paimon?
An assassin from our homeland, or a fool who trespasses upon the waters of Qingce. Coveting the shapes of the living, pure water can take on many forms. In this way, shall water deliver your punishment.
Speaking of voices, they added voice lines to the Oceanid.
The power of water is its ability to take any shape.
She has quite a soothing and relaxing voice, which is quite funny since her fight is probably the most annoying one in the game.
Without solid ground, terrestrial creatures become simply helpless. One who is ignorant of water's treasures fails also to comprehend its horrors. Let's see what happens when you lose your foothold. As long as rain falls and rivers flow, water will exist forever.
If you accidentally increase your world level too much and enemies are way too hard for you to handle, you can now lower it by 1 level. You need to be at least world level 5 in order to do this. Just go ahead and open the main menu and then click on your world level to lower it. You do have to wait 24 hours before you can revert back to your original world level. They added some new materials that can be put inside the Parametric transformer. This is a great way to unload all your extra magical crystal chunks, since you should never use them to forge ores because they cost resin to do so. Besides lots of NPCs selling new cooking recipes, there are 2 NPCs in Liyue that now sell some essential materials such as core lapis and star conches. This is also a good time to remind you about some useful food items. The one I like is the fragrant mashed potatoes. It increases attack to all party members, so it's universally helpful, and you can buy all the materials from NPCs. The sauteed mastake has the same attack buff, and is also a good choice if you have lots of extra mushrooms lying around. You can process the flour, cream, and butter from the second tab in the cooking menu, and you can buy all those materials from Dongsheng in Liyue. Just take the southern teleporter and you'll be right next to him. He carries 100 of these ingredients at a time, and his shop refreshes quite often. And the last change I'll talk about today is some quality of life updates for the Spiral Abyss. Now in mid-fight, you can go ahead and retry the chamber instead of leaving the Abyss entirely and going back in. This will save you a whole bunch of load time, especially if you're on console. After clearing a floor, you can go ahead and continue and still back out from this character select screen. Before this patch, you needed to choose your characters and start the next floor, and then choose to quit once you have loaded the floor. Now you can just back out from the character select. And those are some of the beneficial changes we got in patch 1.4. There's also a bunch of other updates I didn't really talk about, such as the Ningguang buff/fix, as well as a whole bunch of other bug fixes. Well, as always, thanks for watching, and have fun out there, traveler.